called Peeni Henare, tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I stand in support of the Land Transfer Bill and echo some of the sentiments made by my colleague, Mr. Raymond Hua, over many of the technical aspects within this bill, sir. And I want to focus on a couple of things here in the preliminary provisions from Part 1, sir. In under 5 interpretation, it says here land includes, and you always look for the part that's got the underline, and it says having replaced plants and trees on land, it says there plants, trees and timber on or under land. On or under land. So I wonder, is this aimed specifically at the types of industry I see growing, in particular in the far north around Swamp Cody? So large holes in the ground up north suggest that many people have now gone in and raided the Swamp Cody. They've finally seen the asset and the value in Swamp Cody. And I wonder, sir, just from the Minister, if there can be any more clarification exactly when it suggests there plants, trees and timber on or under land, if that is specifically hoping to capture Swamp Cody, and if there are any other types of descriptions of timber under land, I'd be interested to know what those are, just for the purposes of this bill. And the reason I say that, sir, is while we support this bill, it talks in this bill about fraud and the value of land and the ability for compensation, and how it has to be comparable insofar as people will be able to purchase in compensation, purchase another land block to the same value. So in this particular part, just in the interpretation, plants, trees and timber on or under land, the value of Swamp Cody is huge. The market I've seen grow over the years from my time in the far north, where once upon a time Swamp Cody meant nothing, and now all of a sudden people are actually approaching farmers, landowners, to try and harvest the Swamp Cody. And sadly, for a lot of the anecdotal evidence anyway comes back that there are significant issues in that particular industry. But I digress, sir. Just trying to seek a little bit more clarification, sir, on exactly what that means and what are some of the other timbers under land that we might expect will be covered by this particular bill, sir. Also, I take the point made by my colleague around the departmental disclosure statement, and just how particularly I thought good the disclosure statement was, sir, and how this is the result of a lot of great work done by many people in particular. And it says there, and I think it's worth mentioning, George Tanner and Warren Moyes, who I see sadly passed during the progress of this bill. I think it's important to place that on the record in the House, sir. But as we go through more parts of this particular bill, sir, look, Part 1 around these preliminary provisions, pretty straightforward for me, other than just that particular part under Interpretations Clause 5, land includes, and the interpretation D as given there, sir. So, look, I'll leave that there, and I hope that some of my colleagues on this side of the House will understand. Oh, look, I have no doubt as we get into the more meatier parts of this bill, it's already been mentioned that it's rather technical. We'll debate the merits of mortgagee and, of course, the interpretation of fraud a little bit later on. But I'm very specific with mine about timber under land and exactly what that means, sir. So I'll take my seat now. Kia ora.
The quick, I call Michael Wood.
Mr. Chair, very pleased to take this opportunity